Boom! What's going on, Chinch? How we doing, brother?
I'm great. This is like the Feel Good Funbag Friday edition. We got a couple really amazing stories here today that people are going to be so psyched about. And the first thing we're doing, a little different. Every once in a while, we bring a guest on. This is like one of those positive social media things. You know, there's so much bad stuff on social media, but when you can stay in touch with old friends and people you grew up with, and then find connections between those friends and your friends from other places, that's what's going on right here. Because we got a guy coming on right now who is a dear friend of mine, was a dear friend of mine growing up. I mean, we played baseball years and years and probably thousands of games together. And the biggest, coolest, craziest thing is that my mom was literally our school bus back and forth to games for years. And this guy and my mom wound up having such a great relationship. And, you know, we're doing this show right now. He decided to write a book, which we're going to really get into, that's amazing. And I was blessed and lucky enough for him to ask me to write a little something about it. And I incorporated my mom into that, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But let's just bring my boy in, and then there's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon going on here because we are all connected, the three of us, which is bananas. So without further ado, my boy, Timmy McMahon. Coming in.
Thanks for having me, guys. Good to be on, Rich.
What's up, bro?
With you this way. Thanks for doing this.
Unbelievable. So the coolest thing about this, real quick, is Timmy and I connected. He says, "Hey, you know, I know a guy that Sean might know." So I text Sean, and Sean, where were you at that time? And who was his
with the guy?
in another state, right? You guys were in Arizona.
We were in Arizona. Yeah, you said that your buddy Tim McMahon had just wrote a book called Push the Tarp.
Yeah.
And then you said your buddy, I think, helped him write it, Brian Kane. Right. And then I text you back and said, I'm with Brian Kane right now. And I don't even know Tim. Yeah. I don't know Tim at all. And it's just crazy. I just think that's wonderful about life, how those kind of connections come. And, you know, I think that when you're always moving in the right direction and trying to help people out and serve others, somehow the universe collaborates the right people together. So
unbelievable.
Crazy,
so
man.
Glad we're all together. And just real quick, explain to everybody, Sean, who Brian Kane is, and both of you guys, how your relationship is.
Well, Brian Kane is, I think, one of the best mental performance coaches in the country, maybe even in the world. I mean, he was in George St. Pierre's corner when he won all the UFC fights. He's the mental coach for Corbin Burns, who was a Cy Young Award winner last year. Bobby Witt. He's really a student of a disciple of Ken Reveza, who was his guy, who was one of the biggest, mental coaches out there for a lot of the great players. And my guy was Harvey Dorfman, so he's really of a disciple of Harvey Dorfman too. But he has so many college baseball teams, football teams, lacrosse, softball. The guy's the best in the industry, and he's a dear friend of mine, dear friend of Tim's. Obviously, Tim, how did you meet Brian Kane?
Yeah, when I got to Marquette, I've been serving in this role at Marquette as vice president for advancement since 18, and he was already on board helping the lacrosse programs, the basketball programs, and the golf program. And my good friend Joe Amplo introduced me to Brian even before I started at Marquette. The weekend before I started, I met him. So I've been friends with Brian for the last four years, and just started working with him more formally in January. But he is the best. He's helped me with an approach and a routine, and he's helped so many people, whether it's individually or all the teams you mentioned.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's great. So, getting into this book, I mean, I think it's awesome because I know Kaner. Brian has been a part of a lot of different books and has a great resume as far as that goes. But you can tell us the story about, you wrote this book, Push the Tarp, but how did that come about? I know that your relationship with Brian helped guide that, but obviously you wrote the book. Tell us about, how this all happened.
Yeah, sure. And I would just say again, thanks for having me on. I've been doing the box breathing for Mark Devine since that episode, and I think I've listened to Sheffield about 3 times. So
that's great, man.
You guys, it's just kind of ironic, as we mentioned, getting this all together and having my kind of resurgence with baseball with my boys and your podcast. It's just been great. But Push the Tarp really came about because I played baseball with Chinch growing up, and then he went to Columbia. I went to Hofstra. When I went to Hofstra, I played, one of my teammates and roommates was a guy by the name of Jim Hansen, And Jim would say, when we were pushing the tarp, when it would be raining out, we'd have to get the tarp out on the field or pulling it off. He would joke sarcastically, "It's okay, I got it. Push it up, it'll roll itself. Just put your hands on it." And it was such a simple thing, such a simple, sarcastic comment, but it always stuck with me as I went on with my career. And then as I got into leadership roles at Villanova, and then as the vice president at Marquette, I wanted to create a culture. And I created a culture around 3 pillars of service, teamwork, and persistence. And then I said, well, that ties into pushing the tarp, because if we're pushing the tarp well, both literally on the field and figuratively in life, we have to show up. We all have to show up. We can't just show up then and put our hands on it. We actually have to push. And then when we push, usually it's a little muddy or wet. We have to keep pushing when things get hard. And so push the tarp became a mantra for me. It became kind of a way for us at Marquette to talk about our culture. And then when I started working with Brian, he asked me, "Hey, do you know, if I asked members of your team what your culture stands for, do you have a culture? Would they even know what to say?" And I said, "Well, I hope so, because we talk about service, teamwork, and persistence all the time, and we talk about pushing the tarp." I said, "In fact, I've always wanted to write a book, and I would call it Push the Tarp." And it's hard to get Brian speechless, right? I mean, he's great with routines and approaches, but he's got the energy that we all want. And he said, "Wow," he goes, "no one, first of all, really ever answers that question. And secondly, I've written a lot of books and I've helped people write books. If you want, we could take a run at that." And I said, "Well, that would be a dream come true." And so the 2 ways that Brian helped me, one is the book, but the other is those routines and habits. And so I just built this into my morning routine. And he talks about all the time, it's the start that stops most people, right? How many times have we heard Brian say that?
Love that.
And now I say it all the time. And so I started at building it into my AM routine with a chapter a day. And if you read the book, and as people read the book, they realize the chapters are short. This is a quick read about life. It's about relationships, but that's really how it came about.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
so great, man. So great.
I'm interested, before we even move any further, tell me about your morning routine. What do you do?
Yeah, I'm in the 5 a.m. club now, like Rusty.
Let's go.
I get up and like you, I'm getting to bed much earlier. So my AM routine starts in the PM, with making sure I shut down the electronics and get into bed, do some reading with a real book. And I love to read, so it lines up well. And then I'm up in the morning. I'll give it to you really quick, because it's probably longer than you probably want to know. But
you make your bed. What's what the Admiral told us.
Exactly.
If you want to succeed in life and you have all these goals, but you can't make your freaking bed, what are we doing, right?
It's the W out of the box, right?
Yes, man, love it.
And I get if you hit, like my dad would always say, double out of the box. So I was a lot of ground ball with eyes, as Chinch knows. I had a lot of ground balls with eyes.
Yeah. By the way, real quick, Tim was the fastest and best center fielder on Long Island when we grew up, and that's not a joke. Wow. So that plays right into it. So keep going. Sorry, Tim.
I think I was fast. Maybe the first part might be true. So anyways, I make the bed while I listen to Mental Performance Daily, and then I do some morning mobility right into meditation. The meditation leads into exercise. The exercise leads into my journaling and my daily stoic and my prayers. And then I attack my number 1 win. And I get after, what do I want to jump into? I eat the frog right away for work, for Marquette. Yeah. And then I, shower and change and get to work on campus, and then go from there. And then the PM routine starts again. So, that's been huge for me. And obviously I had to get up a little earlier to do the book and build in that chapter, but it's been a game changer for me.
Yeah. Isn't it? I mean, that stuff's been a game changer for me too. And I always tell people it works if you do it. It really works. Don't you agree? Win your mornings, win your day. You know what I mean? And if you set up the habits and routines in your mornings, the days go so differently, because that middle part of the day, you don't know where it's going to take you. Everybody, especially with kids or work or wherever you're going to go, you don't know where it's going to take you. But the AM PM bookends you have control over. So what's your AM and then what's your PM routine when you get your book? And I just love that. Are you also? I mean, I'm so interested because I know Kaner's a big fan too. But are you also into optimizing and the Brian Johnson stuff? Optimize and
I've been diving into heroic big time and doing energy work and love. I mean, I'm all about it now and doing those targets and
let's go,
that's
bro.
Part of the morning routine right now. Yeah,
come on,
you guys
dude.
You guys are like separated at birth, the two of you.
Bro, it's unbelievable. I'm like, is he talking about my morning routine or what's going on here? But it's true though. Yeah. That heroic app, I don't know for you, for me, it's just been, this heroic app has just been a game changer for me, and the way Brian's putting it together, and it's just phenomenal. Like starting my day with my energy, work, and love, my anti-fragile buffalo force, I say, for my energy. But I love what Brian talks about, Brian Kane and Brian Johnson. Right. We talk about time management. Oh, everyone's like, you got to manage your time. You got this. And he's like, it doesn't matter if your energy management isn't taken care of. If you don't manage your energy, your time management's a joke. Right. And so did you find that writing the book that like, man, I got to get my energy right to make sure that I block that time off and I'm ready to write?
Absolutely. If I didn't get to bed early enough and then jump out of bed and get into that routine, because the routine gives you momentum and momentum gives you progress. And then it becomes easier, simple, like my grandmother used to say, and I put it in the book, simple isn't easy, right? Simple is not easy, but it's not complex. So we know what we need to do. We just don't always do it. So how do we build the habits and routines like Brian and Brian have helped us with to do that? And it starts, I think it ends with, we can always joke, Rich and I can joke, we weren't always the most talented players, but we were going to bring it with energy. And we learned through the studies, and you hear it on heroic, zest or energy is the number one factor into flourishing, into success. It's not always who the smartest is or who is the most talented. It's the person that brings the energy and then puts that proven factors into place.
Oh, I love it, man. I love it. And another phrase that I love, I love the phrases because Brian, two of them that I love that Brian Johnson talks about, one of the plus ones. It's it's okay to suck, but it's not okay to skip. And I always think that with my journaling, I've been journaling every day for the last 5.5 months. And I'm like, man, I don't even know how to journal. And they're like, well, write about how you don't know how to journal. Right. Just write something. And what I find is with that motto in my head, it's okay to suck. It's not okay to skip. I'm like, okay, 5-minute timer, go. Just write. And I'm sure, did you feel that some days? Like, cause I've talked to Kaner about, writing a book, and I that's on my list of to-dos to next. And I do get overwhelmed thinking, man, how do I write a book? Did you ever think that, man, how do I write a book?
Yeah, I did. And, believe me, if I can do it, you can do it. So, it's like the old story of how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time. But you need to know what the outline is. So you have people like Brian and others who show you the outline, show you the steps, and then you've got the staircase. You just got to take it one step at a time. And so you do it one day at a time, 2 days at a time. And yes, there were days when I didn't want to write, and you just jump in and you start writing. And my secret was Bruce Hornsby. I would just say, Alexa, I can't say it now because Alexa's here, but
she'll come on and talk to you.
I would just play Bruce Hornsby, and then that would be my flow, and I'd start writing. And it wasn't always good, but it was what I did that day. And then sometimes at night, part of my PM routine is you go back to it, you read it, or I'd read it to my wife, Kara, and Kara would say, okay, good, keep going.
Nice.
Keep going. And her and Brian said, where are we at? Keep going. So you have a couple people in your life that know you're actually doing it, because I didn't tell many people, and a lot of my friends and family said, including my brother, he said, I didn't even know you wrote a book. I didn't know you were doing this. But you can do it if you have a plan, and then you take it one step at a time, like anything else.
Yeah, the cool thing about that is Sean and I literally last night we were just talking because we're trying to catch up on some stuff, and this right now is our 98th episode, and we were like, man, if we weren't grinding after this, both of our minds in the same place going, we got to do it. Even when we did so many shows with COVID, each of us separately. But the second part of that, what I want to say, just hearing you talk there, the great thing about this book is this isn't something that's hammering these points over the head to you. You're weaving this into this really, like you said, easiest read and the cool and just inspirational. So beginning with that, like, who was your audience in your head when you were looking at and saying, I'm going to write this, here's who I'm looking towards, here's who I'm speaking to?
Yeah, and I went on a run hike with Kaner probably around Easter time in Arizona. We have family out in Fountain Hills. So, and he said, hey, you have to write this with, as you're doing it one step at a time, you have to know who you're writing it for. And I would say primarily, I think this is, yes, it's through a story of baseball. Yes, it's about a college age student, but I think it's a story for leaders and aspiring leaders, people who are in charge of people in any walk of life, and people who want to be, or maybe first-time leaders who have been really good at their craft or their talents, and now they're in a leadership or management role. This gives them, I think, a framework that has worked for me. And I'm a good friend of mine, Mark Jackson, is the director of athletics at Villanova, said to me a few years ago, he said, hey, you got to take some quiet time and think about, who do you want to be? What do you stand for? And for him, it was faith, family. It is faith, family, and fun. For me, when I had that quiet time, I said, I want to be about service. I want to be a great teammate in life and in sports. And I want to make sure that I never give up. And so I think that audience right there is the primary. Secondarily, yes, I think you touched on this in your foreword, Rich. If you're a high school or college athlete, yes, I think this applies to you, whether you're crushing it or whether you're struggling. And I think it's good for parents and coaches and teachers as well to say, okay, this is either a good reminder, or maybe this is a different type of framework that's very simple to understand to bring it about. So that's the audience. And I try to tell it through a story of characters. The last thing I'll say is, I think life is about relationships. We can talk about energy, work, and love and routines and habits, but it's ultimately about how you impact people and how people impact you. And that's what I try to do through Push the Tarp. I actually get emotional sometimes reading the ending because I got so attached to the characters that I created out of nowhere. Just listening to Bruce Hornsby. So I think the audience is there, and I think it is also widely applicable after that primary and secondary audience. Yeah,
that's great. There's one connection too. Again, back to Casey. Like in the beginning, I don't want to get too much. I want people to read this, so I'm not going to give too much away. But there's some adversity that this guy goes through where he can't go play a certain place at a certain time, and it's funny. Sean's son. What did he break his thumb?
He broke his thumb right before college started.
Yeah, so the theme that you have in this book is literally word for word, like what Sean was telling me, that he was telling his son, like, hey, listen, life is bigger than this one 5-minute period that could last 2 months, right? It's just really great, dude. I'm really proud of you. So go ahead, Sean.
It's funny. I was just talking to my kids because they were both supposed to play in Alaska. Tim, we just went to Alaska, but my kids weren't playing baseball. We're like, well, we planned this trip because we were going to watch them in the Alaskan Summer League. And it's funny. As a matter of fact, I was with Kaner when this happened. I was in Arizona. So I swear to God, I talked to you. I met you, Tim. The next day, the GM, my son calls me, Jake. He's like, hey, Dad, the GM for the Alaskan, Anchorage Pilots just called and said that, they don't have any spots for you and your brother. So I'm like, well, what the heck? You kind of start to think like, well, there's 2 weeks to go till these kids are going there. We already have this trip planned to Alaska, all this stuff, right? And I just feel like Chinch was just saying there, man, in life, we have to be able to zoom out, because if you stay zoomed in and you go, oh, they screwed us. We screwed us. Screw the Anchorage Pilots, that GM, all those guys out there, they screwed us over. Right? You could say that all you want, or you could zoom out and go, you know what? There's a bigger picture here. Yeah. We don't exactly know what the puzzle piece is yet, but it's going to figure itself out. And it worked out perfectly for my kids. My one son ended up going to play for Johnstown. My other son, Andrew, played a little bit at the end, but he stayed home and worked on his game, got a little stronger. So it's funny to look back. And I had that right away. I was like, no, guys, let's not look at this. God or the universe or whatever is pivoting for us here, and this is going to work out exactly how it's supposed to if we zoom out.
Right.
If we stay zoomed in, then we're just going to be the victims. We have no power. We have no choice. We have no way we have no perspective. We have no way to look at things. We're just screwed. The Caseys got screwed. It's not true. Let's zoom out and see what this whole thing's going to happen, and the puzzle piece is going to fit right in, and it did. And I like to think a lot of times it happens that way. And when in this book, Push the Tarp, and this great thing that you put together, I see a lot of that in that book.
Yeah, it sounds like you did a Coach Delancey and said good, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you leaned in. That's great perspective. I'm glad
Good.
it worked out for them. But you're dead right.
Yeah, it's crazy. And you know what's funny too, bro? You know, when you talk about push the tarp, dude, I know Chinch pushed it. I pushed it. Yeah, I remember one time, it was my freshman year, bro. We had to push the tarp on it was supposed to be on a Friday night, right? Or Saturday morning. So this is Friday night. And I'm like, we wanted to go out. It was the off season. It was still it was in the fall. So it wasn't that, but we had to pull the tarp Saturday morning. So I wanted to pull it Friday night so we didn't have to do it Saturday morning. So what I did was I got a couple baseball players, me and this guy, Jay Adams, who was my roommate, a couple other guys. We had 4 or 5 baseball players, but we needed more guys. We needed more hands. So I went to Marsh Hall, which is a dorm in Richmond. I went door to door. I was like, bro, can you help us pull the tarp? Hey, can you help us pull the tarp? So we got all these guys that weren't even baseball players. And I know what you're saying we lined them all up. We got together. Okay, we have to, in unison, roll. Hey, you're going too fast. You got to pull it up, and then, you know what I mean? And it's like kind of nasty. Yeah, you got to pull it. Okay, roll it back. We got to do it again because we didn't do it right. And so we're halfway through the tarp, Tim. Boom! It's dark out. It's Friday night, so we're like flashlights. We're trying to figure this out. We're college idiots, These headlights come out and right onto Pitt Field, and they're in Richmond. They come on, and I'm like, uh-oh, who's this? It comes out. It's Coach Atkins, our head coach. He's like, Casey, and he talks like, Casey, is that you down there? I was like, because you couldn't see us. I'm like, yeah, what's going on, Coach? He's like, what the hell are you guys doing out there pushing the tarp Friday night? I told you Saturday morning. I go, well, I got some guys together, and we're going to push the tarp, and we're going to do it tonight instead of tomorrow morning. He goes, you better hope that it doesn't rain, because if it does, you're going to be running for days. And we pushed the tarp. We figured it out. So many things that happens with pushing a tarp of trying to do it together, and we ended up work out. Didn't rain. We did what we had to do.
That's crazy.
Oh my God, Chinch, did you have any tarp stories back? I'm sure. Or Columbia, were you guys too big time? They had a crew for you to do.
No, we absolutely did not have a crew. We're on the Hudson River in goose shit the whole entire time. But there was always like one or two. It was always the pitchers that were the ones that would be faking it. It was always the pitchers that'd be standing there, and that concept is so real for a baseball player, especially like a high school or a college player, not at like the big time schools, but like our level where we play. It's like there's always those two guys where that there's no momentum going there. They're just kind of going along with the thing. So I always remembered that. Never got spun under. You and Harnish, didn't you and Harnish get caught under a tarp like Pete Harnish in a real game?
No, one time there was such a storm in Cincinnati. It was like blowing so bad. Like it looked like freaking grounds crew members were being thrown on the tarp. But the tarp was so violent that they needed help to pull it because the rain had hit so fast. And so Harnish and I were out there, and a couple other guys, Pokey Reese, and we were up there full uni, Tim, just ripping the tarp, trying to get it off. Trying to get it off.
The tarp right there.
Yeah, it was incredible. Talking about service work. You're like, let's do it. Let's get out there for the grounds crew.
I love it. Locked in.
Yeah. Hey, Timmy, one more thing. Like we do say this is pretty much fictional, but are there any stories in there that kind of are based off any kind of like real life experiences or real ball players or anything like that?
Yeah, it's fictional. Well, I did pull some stories or some terms or facts from real life. Like my dad is, I've been around a lot of great leaders my whole life. My dad and my parents, both of them are probably two of the. I would start with both of them. My dad had a restaurant. Longer story, but he had a restaurant called Regent's Row, which I think was the best restaurant in New York City for 20 plus years, from 74 to 97, 98. He had a great restaurant. So Regent's Row is mentioned in the book, and I did serve as a busboy there. I'm not the main character. I did name it after Jim Hansen. Jimmy is kind of a tribute to Jim Hansen, who kind of coined that just put your hands on it type of thing. The one story, and I say the Wise Potato Truck delivery, that my Uncle Joe, he passed away years ago. He was a real character. He didn't ever umpire, but he would be the kind of guy that would bring his own playlist to the game, and he would be drinking out of other people's, dugout water coolers. He was just a great character. So I threw that in there. And the one story in there that is true is probably when I was waiting for your mom and you to pick me up was the Lou Piniella story. That's from my dad. And my dad just out of nowhere, I was probably 15, 16. My dad said, you'll never hit the curveball if you keep worrying about how you look. And it kind of like stopped me out of my 15-year-old, 16-year-old haze of like, what are you talking about, Dad? And he said, you think Lou Piniella cared about what he looked like when he was just getting into the other field? And he might have been fooled on a curveball, but he had his hands back and he didn't care what he looked like as he got a hit. Lou Piniella wanted to win. And believe me, as I grew up and I saw Lou Piniella managing, you could tell he wanted to win. And he didn't always care about how you're perceived in the moment. So literally and figuratively, don't always worry about what it looks like. It's not always pretty going through it, but sometimes you have to be willing to be awkward. That's kind of where the vulnerability comes about in the teamwork section of we have to be willing and open to learn and to ask what we think might be a silly question or a dumb question. But don't always worry about what you look like going through it. Be willing to go through it. It's like the only way out is through, right? And so if you're going to be Lou Piniella or don't worry about how you look, I think that's something that we can all take in life. Both literally, I wish I literally learned that better because I never quite figured out how to hit a curveball. But in life, I think I've done a better job of understanding that it's not always pretty, and you have to kind of bring that with you and be humble about it.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I think also too, like when you think about as we go throughout life, and I know for me, baseball mirrors life, and it's such a game of failure. Yeah. And I always say failure's data. Failure's whatever I say it is. So if I think failure's failure, and that makes me look at, I'm not good enough, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not a good player. That's not true. What's true is it's data, it's information for you. And I think one other thing about the game of baseball and also the game of life, it wasn't meant to be easy.
Right.
It's not easy. Life's not easy. Baseball's not easy. Sports aren't easy. Working's not easy. A lot of it's hard. But if you're willing to put in the work and put in a little bit of the effort, then you can really take it to where you want to take it at times. But like you said, we're always going to have to pivot, and we have to look at things when things don't work out exactly how you think they're not going to work out. How you respond is the one thing that really matters, and I think that's a cool way to look at it.
Absolutely. That's why we end with persistence, and we talk about the ability to stay with it. The fact that it's not easy is a blessing. Right. So right. If it's we succeed, we learn. If we don't succeed, we learn. And you're right. Baseball did teach me that. I failed a lot in baseball, and it's humbling and it's great because then in life you realize that you're not as afraid in my career professionally to take risks, to be told no, and to keep going. Okay, no, I struck out more times than I'd like to admit in the batter's box.
Right.
But you keep going. And you learn from it. You persist, and you find something that you want to persist in. What do you want? What are you passionate about? Let's get after it.
Yeah, so incredible, man.
Yeah,
incredible. Well, Tim, where can our viewers find Push the Tarp, and where can we find you?
Sure. Well, Push the Tarp's available on Amazon, so it's very easy to go to Amazon, buy the paperback, the Kindle, the hardcover. It's been out for the last month or so. And I'm on social media, both personally, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and you can also go to @PushTheTarp on many of those platforms as well. So yeah, that's where you can find me, and I'm really grateful to be able to share this with you and with many people. It's a story that I believe in, and I think it has some resonance.
Yeah, well,
I'm ordering it right now, bro. It's coming to the Casey house. So we'd like to order hardcover though. Hardcover.
Yeah,
I love hardcover.
For me, buddy, I got.
Thank you.
I told you this, Tim, and I meant it from the bottom of my heart. I've had some success in my life too, and failures, whatever. This is one of the greatest honors of my life. Was you asking me to be a part of this, because it is true. What you'll see in the forward or intro or whatever you book people call the beginning of the thing. The story I tell, but these qualities that Tim is showing to our audience right now, I mean, I swear, I'm no joke, 13 years old, I saw them in him then, just by the way he treated me, the way he treated my mom, and we've known each other for a long time. Every time I see the O.J. Simpson car chase, this is no joke, I flash back to just vividly, you and me were sitting there stretching the day after. So what is that, 1994? And you go, the ironic thing about this? And I go, what? And he goes, I heard he had O.J. when he pulled into his house before they arrested him. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, the juice had juice. And every time I see that car chase, I think of Tim McMahon going, the juice had juice. but on top of that, though, you are always you've been such a great friend. It is amazing to reconnect with you like this, and it couldn't be in a better way. And please, everybody, get this. Our audience, the folks that we know are in our audience, I know you will love this. I'm not shilling it. You know, I'm just saying it's worth it, and Tim is a great person, and you deserve all the success with this. I'm really proud of you. I'm really proud that we're connected again, and just all the greatest things for you in the future, man. Appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm thrilled for you guys, for your success here. The Mayor's Office is the best podcast. I listen to it. Besides Mental Performance Daily, I gotta give Mayor a shout. But I'm thrilled for your success. And, you know, it's fun to think back to me being in center field, you being in left field, and keeping through all those days and all those times. And it's fun to reconnect in this way. And I'm just grateful that you guys are part of this Push the Tarp journey for me. And I'll keep listening as well.
Yeah, well, to all our listeners out there, go get that book. I just ordered it on Amazon, so you got one more subscriber. And bro, thank you so much for connecting here, Tim. And it's amazing how we all kind of fell into this connection. And we'll look forward to seeing what you do down the road. I'm sure Push the Tarp's not going to be the last one from Tim McMahon.
I'm hoping it's not. We're going to think of a next story, but we'll see where it comes next.
Okay, brother.
Guys. I appreciate having me on.
Yeah. All right, thanks a lot, man. See you soon.
Okay, take care.
Oh man, such good energy right now. But let's keep it going. I said we had a couple of feel good stories, man. Sean, what you did last weekend, I texted you the first day, and then I called you the next day, and I was like, I cried all day yesterday just looking at your Instagram stories for what you did. I want everybody to see to hear what happened for you in your life and the people you touched this past weekend, man. Well,
you know what, Chinch? It was so much more than me too. There's so many people involved here, but you know, it's just an incredible day, incredible weekend out in Cincinnati. You know, when we started the Miracle League, this is our 10th year. You know, we got building about 12 years ago, and you know, it was the mission of the Miracle League is to give every chance. Every kid deserves a chance to play baseball. So we're like, man, that's great. We've done that. We have 350 special needs kids that we serve. You know, it's incredible. It's affected our community positively. It's affected parents and grandparents, aunts, uncles, friends alike. And Tim Gephardt, our director here, who's just wonderful, and Miranda Klein, they're just wonderful people. You know, Kim Nuxall is a good friend of mine in Cincinnati, Joe Nuxall's son, who was a legend there in Cincinnati, who was such a wonderful man. Nuxie had built Miracle League fields right around the time we were, and I helped him kind of not help him, but I was part of the original getting them going, and so I've always been a part of those fields. So Kim came out to an event here in Pittsburgh, and Tim and Kim got talking, and Tim's like, bro, let's do the first ever travel Miracle League teams. You know, we'll travel. So, dude, Tim got a bus. We got this big bus. We got 25 of our kids and their parents. We loaded them up. We drove to Cincinnati. Yeah. We went, Friday night we went and saw the Reds Hall of Fame. Yeah. Which was
but even the bus ride singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
Bro, take me out to the ball game. Yeah, we had so much stuff we were doing. Like, the kids were so fired up. We got a police escort out of here. You know, Matt Sarakowski and John Ward, these guys for the police department here, got us police escort to the highway. The kids were like, let's go. They were fired up, cheering. Parents are cheering. And then we got to Cincinnati. We went to the Reds Hall of Fame on Friday night. It's funny because I don't think the kids think that I played baseball. They just think I'm the Miracle League director.
I know. There's a pretty fancy, there's a pretty legit Sean Casey experience at that thing.
Yeah. So they hit a button. They're like, hey, Sean Casey, and his big thing. And these kids are looking around like, I thought his guy created the Miracle League field. We had no idea he was a Cincinnati Reds Hall of Famer. So that was kind of cool, for me, seeing the kids' faces and stuff. They practiced Friday night. Then Chinch, Saturday morning, we rolled up in this bus, bro. There must have been 1,000+ people waiting for us, dude. Waiting to cheer our kids off this bus. So we get off the bus, place is going nuts. Their kids that are playing are cheering, their families are cheering, and other people from Cincinnati have come out to cheer. Our kids get off the bus. I mean, goosebumps talking about it. But, it's just beyond, your wildest dreams to think that, you create the Miracle League field, but why can't you expand? Why can't you make it bigger? All these kids, my kids, all the kids in America, like we did, Chinch, we play on these baseball teams, we travel, we get to stay in hotels with our parents, our buddies, go down to the pool, play the games, come back, go get some dinner. Why not our kids? Why can't our kids travel and go to the hotels and get to have dinner with their buddies and all this stuff and play against another city's team where you can, have that feeling of different uniforms and all that stuff. It was incredible, bro. Incredible. And I just still want to thank Tim Gebhardt, Miranda Klein, and Matt Sarakowski, John Warden, Kim Nuxall, Bonnie Nuxall, Tyler Bradshaw, their director out there in Cincinnati is amazing. He's unbelievable. They just hired him about a year ago. It's incredible, dude. You see how excited I am because these kids actually got to experience a dream that all kids get to experience. And I encourage, if anyone out there that has a Miracle League field, that was part of a Miracle League field in this country, I know there's 300 plus now. Go find a way to get a bus, find another Miracle League field that you could travel to a few hours and start getting travel games going for these Miracle League kids, because it's an experience. Yeah, dude. Well, it's a testament to the person that you are and the people that you surround yourself with. All those people you named, just seeing them all there, and just, oh my God, the navigation of how you guys really did that, and just to see the looks on these kids' faces, and the looks on their parents' faces, and the looks on everybody who weren't even parents or kids. Like I told you, every time you were posting something, I'd be like, just look at this one. Look at this. This is so great. I'm so proud of him. I'm not kidding. I had goosebumps the whole weekend. And so great, last thing I'll say, we're gonna keep it to that this week, because what better inspiration to go into your weekend with these two great stories. I know we tell a lot of, kicking the nuts jokes, and we have a lot of fun on this show, but to know and be friends with Sean Casey, like the message we're delivering here isn't just about the goofiness and the fun. It's just, surround yourself with good people and try to do good things and try to do good work. And I'm proud that we have this platform to kind of bring this in and out when we can. It's so great. Dude, Chinch, I couldn't agree with you more, man. And I think... I even said at the Miracle League field the other day, it's a message I like to, say, because it's so true. We all think in life that, man, we got to get the next big house, the next car, we got to keep up with the Joneses, we got to get the new clothes and this and that. And I'm like, no, like we all feel that selfishness at times. Mm-hmm. But I say, if you want to do the most selfish thing in the world, if you want to be truly selfish, go serve somebody. Mm-hmm. Go serve somebody, because the human soul, when you serve other people, and I don't care if it's doesn't have to be the Miracle League. It doesn't have to be, it could be in your house. Serve your kids, serve your partner, serve your wife, serve your husband, serve your relatives. Find a way. You show up at a Giant Eagle or a grocery store somewhere. Say hi to people. Be kind. Be nice. But if you always have that thought process of service in mind, you're gonna feel the energy of that is around you. That's how we're meant to be as human beings. Yeah. I only say that through experience, Chinch. I only say that because I've experienced that, and I would just say to all our listeners, I encourage you, find a way to serve somebody every day, and you will have energy galore of good feelings. Yeah. So let's take this energy, bring it into the weekend, man. I am so blessed to be doing this show with you. I love you so much. I'm so proud of the work you're doing with that and everything else, and I'm just happy to be along for the ride with you, man. I'm learning a lot. You're the best, Chinch. I love you tons, man, and this has been a fun time. We're coming up on episode 100, right? Yep, coming up. I remember when we first started, we're like, if we can just get 10 under our belt. Yeah, a week from today. Ooh, and start, by the way, keep your eyes on social media, because we might have a little giveaway leading up. We're looking to give away some gear. Yes, we're going to formulate something. Yeah, so maybe a jersey bat or something. A week from today. Week from today, brother. Let's do it. Let's get it. All right, brother. I love you. Love you, have a great weekend. Everybody out there, subscribe, download, reviews, do everything. All the things that you should be doing. Do it for us, because we need it. Let's go. Love you, Chinch. I'll talk to you, brother. See you, man.